I want to start by clearing something out of the way because it sits between a lot of people and the truth they need. This episode is about body fat. And if you carry extra weight, you have almost certainly been made to feel by a doctor, by a stranger, by yourself at 3 a.m, that your pain is your fault, that if you just had more discipline, it would all go away. So before I say another word, that is not what this is. This is not about willpower, and it is not about how you look. It's about biology. Specifically, it's about the fact that some of the fat in your body is not sitting there quietly. It behaves like a gland, pumping inflammatory chemicals into your bloodstream day and night, priming your entire body to feel pain. That's a mechanism, and mechanisms can be changed. I'm Dr. Gurpreet Padda. I run the Padda Institute in St. Louis. I'm board certified in interventional pain medicine, anesthesiology, and addiction medicine, and I've spent more than 2 decades on the pain that doesn't respond to the standard playbook. And one of the most consistent findings in that work is this: I cannot fully calm a patient's pain while their body is running an inflammation factory they don't even know they have. That factory is the deep fat packed around the organs, visceral fat. Today, I'm going to show you why it may be one of the most underappreciated drivers of body-wide pain in medicine. Here's my promise for the next few minutes. You'll understand the difference between the fat under your skin and the dangerous fat around your organs. You'll learn that visceral fat is a genuine endocrine organ and the specific inflammatory messengers it pumps into your blood. You'll finally understand why, for so many people, the pain stops being one spot and becomes everywhere. And you'll see why this is one of the most reversible drivers in this entire series. 4 stops. 1, I'll show you that fat is not passive storage. 2, I'll show you the specific inflammatory chemicals visceral fat produces. 3, I'll connect that to why your pain feels diffuse, like it's coming from everywhere at once. 4, I'll show you exactly what we do about it. Let's get precise. The fat just under your skin, the kind you can pinch, is called subcutaneous fat. That's not our main concern today. The fat we're focused on is visceral fat, the deep fat packed in and around your organs, your liver, your intestines, deep in your abdomen. For a long time, medicine treated all fat as passive storage, an inert warehouse for extra calories. That turned out to be completely wrong. Visceral fat is an endocrine organ. It actively produces and releases signaling molecules into your bloodstream. And the problem is what it chooses to make, because what visceral fat overproduces is inflammation. Here's the engine. Visceral fat secretes inflammatory messenger molecules, chemicals like TNF-alpha and interleukin-6. This isn't fringe science, it's foundational. The original work showed that fat tissue is a direct source of TNF-alpha, and that this is a key link between carrying excess fat, chronic inflammation, and insulin resistance. It was first demonstrated in animal models, then confirmed directly in human obesity. Now picture those inflammatory molecules pouring into your bloodstream, not once, but continuously, every hour of every day. That creates a constant, low-grade inflammatory background humming through your entire body. And as we've seen across this whole series, that kind of systemic inflammation does one specific thing to pain. It sensitizes your nervous system and lowers your pain threshold everywhere at once. This is the part that makes so many patients say, finally, that's exactly what it feels like. When the source of inflammation is one injured spot, the pain is local. But when the source is diffuse and systemic, molecules circulating through your whole bloodstream, the sensitization is everywhere the blood goes. The pain stops being my knee and becomes all of me. It's also why 2 people can have identical imaging, the same wear on the same joint, and completely different pain. The person carrying inflammatory visceral fat has a nervous system that's already primed. I want to be honest about the strength of the evidence here. The biology of visceral fat secreting these inflammatory molecules is rock solid. The link between that and a person's specific widespread pain is, in the human research, a strong and consistent association. So let me put the foundation on the table. That visceral fat is an endocrine organ secreting TNF-alpha and IL-6, established across decades of work, that these are the same inflammatory signals tied to nervous system sensitization. So let me come back to where we started, because it matters. This is not about appearance, and it is not a referendum on your discipline. Visceral fat is a metabolically active tissue that pumps inflammatory chemicals into your system. That is a biological problem, and biological problems have biological solutions. You did not fail. You were carrying an organ nobody told you about, doing something nobody explained. That changes the whole conversation from shame to strategy. So here's what we actually do. We target visceral fat specifically. Through the metabolic approach this whole series is built on, lowering the insulin load, correcting the diet that drives fat storage in the first place. And here's the encouraging part. Visceral fat is highly responsive to this kind of metabolic work. It tends to be among the first fat to come off when you fix the underlying drivers, not through crash dieting, but through addressing the metabolism underneath it. And as that visceral fat shrinks, its output of TNF-alpha and IL-6 falls with it. The constant inflammatory background quiets down, and the pain that had spread to everywhere finally has somewhere to recede to. You may be carrying an organ you never knew you had, and unlike so much in chronic pain, it's one of the most reversible drivers there is. This is the 5th conversation in a series on the hidden metabolic drivers of chronic pain. If your pain has spread until it feels like it's everywhere, this may be the missing piece. Go to painmd.tv and take the first step. I'm Dr. Padda. This was never about blame. It's about a cause we can change together.